What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 68. We came so close to being nice. Returning with me is Mr. Trevor Fulbright. Trevor, say what's up to the people, my man.
How's everyone doing? Man, when you drop episode 69, you might actually not be able to put 69 in the title.
Is that, yeah, that's a thing.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I just thought about that. Yeah, YouTube might flag you for it.
right. I'm going to say like the nicest episode of the Trainer Scoop podcast.
Yeah.
Man, I'm liking this new scenery since the last time we've podcasted.
Yeah, man. Feels
New
good.
house, right?
Right. Yeah. First house.
Congrats. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. How you liking it? How's the whole process been?
The whole process has been interesting.
I bet.
Being here is great. It's amazing being out of an apartment, having more privacy, and like we went from a 600 square foot one bedroom apartment to a 1,400 square foot 3 bedroom house.
Oh, hell yeah.
So like I have my own office space now, and that's just for work productivity is night and day difference.
Yeah, nice. Dude, I think I saw either it might have been a video or like a STD podcast where it was like you could see like your work setup in the background, and then maybe like your wife's or like another desk, maybe it was like a
Yeah.
gaming setup or something was also in that same room. So
Yeah, it
good to have
was
some space.
in the same space. There was my desk, all my work stuff, my wife's desk, and she works from home now.
Hmm.
And then our roommate was behind us, and he had a gaming setup behind us, and then like my gaming setup's right there too. So it
Definitely.
was, it'd be me trying to work, and I always had to make sure I wasn't working when she was working, which
Hmm.
meant weird hours and stuff. And then when I was working, it would be our roommate and my wife were like right there in the room. They're trying to, game or watch TV and stuff. And so it's just great being able to have my own space. I can come just focus, get work done, way more productive.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I mean, I saw some of your step counts from those days when you were moving. It was the highest step counts I maybe have ever seen on the
Yeah.
internet. So,
That first day of moving, I think it was like 32,000 steps or something.
sheesh.
I was up for 20 hours straight. And really the
Bro.
only reason I went to bed is because I was very wrong. I underestimated the moving process. So if anyone
Mhm.
listening to this happens to be getting ready to move, it's going to be more than you think. I was like, yeah, we'll get everything moved over, no problem. We have the truck for like 11 hours. We'll get it all moved over, unpack most of it, be able to take, put all the boxes in the truck and take them to a dump. Yeah, it'll be a breeze. It was not. It was we got everything finally moved over here, and we only had like an hour left with the truck. And I was just putting stuff, trying to put stuff up, unpack stuff, whatnot. And it was like 2:30 in the morning. Everyone else was just done, and I'm like still just walking. The ending point was like I had something in my hand, and I just like walked around the house trying to figure out where to put it, and I kept forgetting what I was even doing.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "We just need to go to bed," and I was like, "You're probably right."
Yeah. Long ass day.
Yeah, yeah. I
Hell
was
yeah.
fried.
Yeah, dude. Well, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. You've been making some moves. I was just checking back. I think we podcasted. It was, I want to say like 11, almost a year ago. It was like 11 months ago. It was the first time we did that podcast. And I remember it because I was like excited to have you on. Like it was like a weird day too. It was like a Saturday night
Yeah,
that we got you on. So what else has been going on? What's happened in life? I know you've been making some big moves and some cool developments have happened. What else is new, man?
it's been pretty crazy. So I do it's funny. I have for years I've gotten this question a lot, but I do now officially work for Renaissance Periodization. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude.
And then on top of that, my own online coaching business just kind of took off in the last year, to the point now where I'm still training. And part of it's been because of the move, but I'm still
Mm.
training in person full time as well. But likely within this year, I'll be going online completely.
Hell yeah, dude. Congrats. That's I mean, like you said, everybody really kind of thought that you were working for RP,
Yeah,
but it's great to feel like official and to have that
yeah,
like recognition, I'm sure too.
definitely, definitely. It definitely was a nice feeling when all this everything kind of came about, and it's been a lot of fun. Uh, getting to kind of hang out with the crew and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess real quick, I'll say for like newer listeners of the podcast, or maybe you're just kind of like finding me or Trevor. Definitely I'll link the episode that we did first because that was like a really good one. It's one of the probably I guess like as like if you're a trainer passionate about fitness or you're just trying to learn more, it's a great one to listen to. Very versatile. And for those who don't know, RP Renaissance Periodization, it's a kind of like this science-based fitness company that brought me and so many of my guests together. It's formed such a great community of people over the years, and Trevor is an OG with RP, so that just kind of speaks to like how he approaches fitness and honestly like life as an overarching thing. That's one thing I learned about you. You go all in on a topic
I
when you're
do.
interested and passionate about it.
I definitely.
So yeah, like if you are listening and you don't know those things, like definitely check out RP Team Full ROM. That's where I originally found Trevor, and I've learned a lot from you from the forum and now YouTube and other podcasts as well, man. Can you speak a little bit about like the different podcasts you're involved in, kind of like how you've been putting out educational content because you are always out here and active on that stuff.
Yeah. So it was funny. Dylan, he had his podcast, and I'd been on once, and Dylan and I just, we kind of became friends, just online through the, online fitness space and whatnot. And he just asked me one time, he's like, hey, you want to do a podcast again? And I'm, sure. And then Shimmy, who me and Shimmy are also good friends. We've talked for years. Um, Reached out to Dylan and it was like, hey, I want to get on the podcast. So we just kind of all hopped in together. And it was one of those things that we all just kind of meshed really well, you know, kind of was able to bounce ideas off of each other. And so it became a thing. Like after we were done, we were like, man, that was a lot of fun. We should do this more regular. And it just kind of took off and it kind of became its own thing. And it's been a lot of fun to do. It's been a bit of a wild time, like Shimmy was in London for like 6 weeks, I think. And so we were sitting there trying to balance everyone's schedules. And then when I had the move and everything going on, I was pretty MIA for a little while, getting everything ready for that. But hopefully soon we'll be able to hop back a bit more regularly and get back to like weekly recordings of it. It's just a really good time to like, we can chat, bounce ideas off each other, and really, because we all are super into this whole fitness thing and always trying to learn more, we're generally trying to follow the evidence and everything. We can get into some really in-depth topics, and because we all kind of are similar levels, we can use that to take deep dives into topics and slowly start to break those down, which I think is really, really fun for us as individuals, but it's really good for the listeners too, because we can sit there and we can, the three of us will just bullshit for an hour and a half, but we'll sit down and just beat down a single topic to death. And it really lets us disseminate information on these topics and break it down for people that I think can make it, easier to understand, but not just understand, but make it applicable.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is like, there's so much information out there, but learning how to make it applicable to like yourself, or if you're maybe like a newer coach or something, how to make it applicable with clients, that's not always something that is as easy to figure out and learn. So I think that that's one thing we really try to focus on. And then if you follow me on Instagram, I last year, it was kind of for fun and a way to kill time, I started doing like frequent Q&As, and it kind of took off. People seemed to enjoy it. I got a lot of engagement out of it, and I really, really enjoy doing it. I really like being able to give information out to people. In fact, the other day I had someone ask me a question like, how would you get started in this? And
I saw that.
the best way is to be willing to give free information out there.
Yeah,
You
dude.
know, if you're ever going to ask for, you know, like a financial, you know, compensation in return, people have to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to build that trust is to be willing to give free knowledge away.
Dude, a couple things I want to hit on there. For those who haven't checked out the podcast with Dylan and Chimmy, maybe you listened to the last episode. Dylan and I just had Dylan on. We were talking about the podcast. It's the STD podcast. Check
Yeah,
that out. Check that out. It's a great one. And
that's coming soon.
yes. Um, I have straight up been out at the bars asking you guys questions. I've had my
Oh,
phone on the
that
aux
was hilarious.
pre-gaming. That shit was so funny. I was
Yeah,
pre-gaming and I was like, hold up, somebody take the aux. And I put my earbud pre-gaming, listening to the lives, the STD podcast. I love it. It's a great podcast. You guys need to check it out. A couple of like it's just like light bulbs are always going off in my brain when I listen to the podcast because it's always like I'm probably like here and you guys are like up here. So it's like, oh, like this is how I can connect the stuff that I'm hearing, whether it's on the forums or from RP's videos. And it's almost like a good like liaison for this
yeah,
like really high level information into like a practical gym approach. And I think that's so important. A lot of people get lost in the theoretical sauce, but you guys are like, you do a really good job. I think two examples that really you guys were talking once about like variation and like how
yeah.
like one of the prior mistakes that you'd made was like always adding in new exercises, a little bit too much variation. And now I've started to keep certain movements in from mesocycle to mesocycle. And that's
Mhm.
been like a really kind of like light bulb moment in my training.
Yeah.
And then also like hearing you guys talking about like how volume requirements can change. Like I thought for like it's like 6-8 months, I was like, dude, why is my volume so low? Why am I getting wrecked by these workouts? And it's like, oh, like learning from you guys, I'm like, oh, I'm not fucking up. This is actually like a good thing. Like I'm improving.
That's a great
So
thing. That's a great thing. Yeah. You know, you when you really start to dial in your technique, your exercise selection, I find in my experience almost everyone's volume needs are way lower than they think.
yeah,
You know,
especially when they train like you.
if someone comes in and they're like, "Yeah, I'm doing, you know, 25 sets for quads a week," and I'm like, "About that." I counted 0 actual working sets. Let's
Mhm.
take care of this. You know, teach someone how to work hard and work. You know, be very very technical with the movements. One of the biggest things I learned from Jared Feather was, you know, focusing on keeping it in the muscle and making the muscle the failure point.
Yes.
And man, when like learning that from him, I swear that took my training to a whole nother level.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about that cue because he originally commented on one of my squat videos like early in the Team Full Round forum of keeping it in your quads.
Yep.
And I was thinking about that like literally yesterday as I was doing hack squats, and it is game changing. I'm sore today. Another thing I wanted to hit on to kind of like drive home the point that you made about, you know, really being willing to give value and give information out there. This throws back to a guy that I met when I lived out on the East Coast, which maybe you've like run into him through RP. His name is Danny Wirt. Does that ring a bell by chance,
Yeah.
buddy? Yeah. Yeah. So I like randomly met Danny at a gym in Philly, and like he kind of took me under his wing and taught me some things. And then I like always followed him, and he had a podcast with Dr. Mike there for an episode or two. And Dr. Mike was just talking about like give fucking value. Like
Yep.
so many people expect to just like pop off or, whatever it might be. They expect to kind of like make it, quote unquote, but like just produce stuff with a value. And you do that so well. Like I'm trying to gear my content to be more toward that while working my own personality in. And it's like, that's a big takeaway for everybody out there that's, trying to make a wave in this space is don't be afraid to put your time in. I see you on the questions, like getting your steps in, just walking
Yeah.
around, helping people out. And that's awesome, dude. So like props to you. I wish my questions were as good as yours. Most of them usually revolve around my ass and then
I've noticed
my
that. I've noticed you get a lot of
ass.
ask questions.
It's ass, sexuality, I had to delete the Not Gonna Lie app though, because somebody asked me, when was your last fuck? And I said, all right, I'm done.
Oh yeah, see, that's not got. I'll be honest though, I get some of those on there that I'm like, I'm not gonna answer that. And like, let me just be totally frank with you. I'm pretty much open book. I don't mind talking about that shit with people.
Right.
Um, it's funny little story. Um, my wife and I, when we went down to see Mike last year, um, we had like a super open discussion about like sex, kinks, all that shit. Totally commonplace around my house.
Right.
I don't mind that shit, but man, there are some questions on the Not Gonna Lie app that I'm like, I am not gonna answer that. Good God.
Shit's crazy.
Maybe I would answer it if someone was ballsy enough to ask me, like, to where I could see who they were, but never
Right.
on this.
Right. No, dude, I'm the same way. Like most of the time I'll talk about anything, like it doesn't really bother me, but yeah, you get some wild ones on there. So shout out to you for staying with the people through all
Yeah,
the questions
yeah,
on those apps. Um, I kind of wanted to also hit on like, you've been around like the RP ecosystem for a hot second now. Like,
yeah.
what was it like RP plus? That was like the original kind of.
The OG,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
OG.
dude. I used to watch those in like college while I would be that like they had these bikes at Ohio State where you could like open up YouTube, and that's when I first started watching RP. Was like they put some RP plus videos on YouTube maybe. And it's been a long time that you've been in this game. So
Yeah,
like so many people would have burned out by now. So how have you been able to stick with it? Like, can you speak on that? Because I think a lot of people can get discouraged when they don't see the results that they want to see, but you have stood the test of time and it's paid off.
yeah. Um, just clarifying a little bit, from me personally, or from as a coach, like working into a coaching business, both.
I think honestly, yeah, both would be great to hear.
Okay. So, personally, um, and I'll be completely open and honest. Like I've gotten questions like this a lot, like, people, oh, you do all this training, yet you still look like you do, you should do
So
something else.
stupid. So stupid.
And I don't know, man, that shit just doesn't get to me. I grew up as a fat kid. I developed a thick skin as a kid. I've had that shit for years.
Mm.
Um, for me, it's not even about like reaching a set goal. I don't have a set goal. I don't have a goal physique. I like the process of it. For me, I find so much satisfaction in the training. The training, especially. I love training. It's pretty much my favorite part of the day. But also like when I'm dieting or when I'm massing, and when you get to those really sucky parts when you're just like you can't keep your eyes open because you're so fatigued and you're just hungry all the time, and just being able to grind through that, or on the other end when you're massing and you're literally like gagging while you're trying to eat a meal, and it's just everything you can do to not throw up and finish this next meal. Those kind of things, that those challenges, I find so much satisfaction in just taking those challenges head on and pushing through them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it doesn't come down to, oh, I have a set physique I want to reach. Oh, I have this set look I want to give. I'm just giving my all effort, and I'm doing these things because I enjoy them. I enjoy the process. The outcome is not at all what I care about. There's no an outcome oriented goal for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about just the process of it. And for me, that's how I stay motivated. As cliche as it kind of sounds, because you hear this a lot, is like motivation sucks because motivation waxes and wanes, but it's true. You'll whatever, it's a typical New Year's resolution. New Year's comes around, everyone's like, oh, I'm so motivated, and new year, new me. By Valentine's Day, that's out the window, because motivation just doesn't last. You have to have something else. For me, it's there's always a challenge. And that's what motivates me. It's just one challenge to the next, one challenge to the next. And that's how I keep going. On the other end, for the coaching aspect of it, that's definitely been a long process. I've been in the fitness industry now for coming up on 11 years. So I've watched, like, I've been in it long enough. I remember when YouTube fitness started.
Who were you watching back in the day?
The Hodge twins.
Yes, bro. This is
Real,
all just advice.
some of the original beefs, like when If It Fits Your Macros became a thing, I was around for that.
Damn. Yeah, that's before my time.
Yeah, that was a while back. It was
Mm-hmm.
like when the bodybuilding.com forums, that's how IFYM got started.
Mm-hmm.
I was around for that shit. So, I have watched the fitness space grow. 11 years ago, the coaches out there, I mean, maybe Lane Norton, maybe a couple other people. There wasn't really online coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched this whole industry grow. And for a long time, I'm going to be honest, there was a long time I really doubted that I could get into the industry. And I still struggle with it now. I definitely deal with imposter syndrome. But it's just a thing. I finally just said, you know what? Like, I know enough that I can help one person. And I'll share information so I can help that one person. And it just grew from there. And that's the mindset I had to have. It's like, if I can help one person, awesome, sweet. I'll help that one person. Because maybe that person was in a situation that I was when I started, where they didn't know anything. They didn't know what to do, and it's kind of sucks to be in that position where you don't really know where to go, what to do. You back then it was the bodybuilding magazines you looked at for workouts. Now it's Instagram swipe workouts, but it's the same thing. So just doing that over and over again, day after day, eventually it's grown to the point where it's like it's actually something that is sustaining as a career for me. And I'll be honest, it never actually, even when I really started taking online coaching more seriously, because I've been personally on in-person training for years now too. When I started taking the online coaching thing more seriously, the whole point of it was never to be like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be an online coach. It was like, oh, I can help some more people. I can have a little bit bigger of reach, and I could make a little extra money on the side. It wasn't until the point where I was like, oh, wow, this is actually like replacing my income entirely, that I thought, like, oh, this can actually be a career. I never had that mindset of like, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm going to be an online coach. And I think that if people get into this with that mindset of like, oh, I'm going to be an influencer and whatever, I don't think those people last most of the time.
Yeah.
Because they come, they just, it's a wish. It's like, I'm going to be an influencer, but they don't really have a plan or an idea of what to do. They just think like, oh, I'm going to hit big one day. But I see a lot of people say that, but not put in the work to do it. And if you have to be willing to put in the work, and a lot of that, like I said earlier, it comes down to you have to give value. Value takes your own time. That's something that you can give no matter where you start. You always have your time you can give.
Yeah, that's a great point, dude. Oh man, I'm gonna have to clip that one. That was good. I think I'm very similar to you in that, like, there really is, like, as far as like training goes, as far as like the content goes, like, I guess I should say there's no end goal, right? Like, there's an end goal. There's a goal of like, I want to put out stuff that helps people so they can avoid the mistakes that I made and like avoid feeling the ways that I felt, because that can be tough. But yeah, like with the training, I have some people, like some clients, some friends, like I feel like I'm just like, why are you so impatient? Like, I don't know if it's just the fact that like a lot of us love the daily process of, adhering to some sort of diet, going to the gym, putting out the effort, help like putting out some type of piece of information that can help people. That's something that I haven't really thought about. So I'm like thinking about that now and kind of like relating it to me, my friends. That's a really, really good way to put that, man. In terms of perseverance, I feel like you said, like so many people will burn out. You know, they want to try to be an influencer, they want to try to hit it big, and it just rarely ever pans out that way.
Yeah, if that's what your sole goal is, good luck.
Yeah. I was saying to Dylan in the podcast, I was like, dude, think of the influx of realtors we're about to have in like 10 years when like a lot of these like Instagram people just like, oh, like the effects of the gear start to hit a little bit harder. Their
Right.
drive to hit the gym declines, and I'm like, dang.
Well, man, that's a thing. We actually talked to when we had Mike on the podcast. We talked to him about this a little bit. Is like you see a lot of these people that I'll be completely honest. They know jack shit. They just have a good physique, be it genetics, be it whatever, and that's what they rely on. And man, that shit just doesn't. It's not sustainable, and it doesn't work out. Because you're not always gonna have the motivation to go to the gym. You're not always gonna have the time to go to the gym. And you're gonna have wanes in your diet. You're gonna have times where you're gaining weight. Be it purposeful or not, it's just gonna happen. And if you just are that person that's like, oh, all you do is post pictures, but you don't actually know anything, yeah, you're gonna get that person, those 10 people that come in and pay you $100 a month for coaching, and then they realize, oh, you are an idiot that doesn't know anything. I'm not gonna keep paying you. And you're not gonna get anywhere with that revolving door. Just because you have 50,000, 100,000 followers, but all of them, all they're doing is using you as a thirst trap or for some weird motivation. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Um, to kind of, dude, yeah, that's so true. To kind of shift, I recently did like internship and mentorship with a guy that I met when I was living in Columbus, and he like was personal training at the time, shifted online. He has a fucking massive, successful like
Yeah,
bikini business, like bikini coaching business.
Bryce.
Bryce, yeah,
Bryce, yeah, I
yeah,
for a while actually. Funny enough, well,
yeah.
I'd been following that guy for a while. He puts out good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was definitely cool. I'll say like definitely cool to learn some other things from like strictly RP because I've started to integrate like some other things into like my training and thought process as well. It's really cool. So shout out to Bryce. Appreciate you, man. So one thing that he encountered, I guess, was back when I met him, this dude was like 275. I saw him already yell 700 for reps, like just stupid
Yeah.
shit. And then like now he doesn't like he's like I'm lucky if I get in the gym. Did you ever have a phase like that where like maybe you kind of like fell out of love with training after you were like really into it? Because I'll tell you what, man, like as impressive as RDLing 700 is, the way I've seen you push yourself is just disgusting in the best way possible. Like I can tell you're passionate in it and you put in the work. But did you ever have a time where like the motivation was tough and like you kind of almost like fell out of love with the gym?
Oh yeah, I have two times in particular. Um, one was one was actually it was just because I was an idiot and poor fatigue management, um, pushing very very high frequencies. It was when I was pushing training twice a day, 6 days a week, so 12 sessions a week. Um, and I did it for without having any variations in frequency. I did that for 7 months, I think. And I just hit a point where I couldn't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't. I think at that point I was lucky to get in the gym maybe once or twice a week. That was probably a good 2 months that I was like that.
Mm.
Um, and eventually, the kind of the urges came back. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling good. I kind of want to train. But man, that was definitely the realization for me, the importance of fatigue management, not from the physical side, but the psychological side. The physical side is you get aches and pains, or in worst case scenario, you get hurt. But the psychological side of just total fucking burnout is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first experience with that. The other one was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. I actually herniated L5S1.
Mm.
And because I'm a total dumbass, completely ignored it and decided I was just going to push through whatever the pain was and just keep training. And that lasted till the point to where I couldn't even squat the bar for 3 reps because the pain was so debilitating. And I mean, it got to the point where literally getting in my car was a whole ordeal because I actually had to lift my legs up into the car because I couldn't physically lift my leg.
Wow.
Uh,
That's brutal.
yeah, I'm a dumbass. Don't do what I did. Um, and I finally was like, I have to do something about this. And so I think over a 3 month period, I might have trained 5 times. And part of it wasn't just lower body, but I couldn't lay on a bench. I couldn't do a chest supported row because just that pressure of it pulling me hurt too much. I couldn't do a pull down because just sitting and like if I tried to pull down, it would cause too much pressure on my lower back. Literally, the only things I could do would be a seated chest press and a leg extension, and like a seated bicep curl or lateral raise, and that was about it.
Damn.
And it was so painful. I just fell out of the gym. I couldn't do it anymore, and it was probably about 7 to 8 months before I like started getting back to the gym normally.
Hmm.
After that first 3 months, it was like I would go maybe twice a week and do a little bit here, do a little bit there, and yeah, it was definitely close to a full year
Hmm.
before I was really back to like I wouldn't even call it normal training yet because it wasn't, but where I was like, okay, I'm actually in here 4 or 5, 6 days a week. I'm actually doing something. I'm actually enjoying this again
Hmm.
because it's not just depressing me.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that. Okay. So, yeah, like that hasn't happened to me yet. It probably will at some point, but I think like honestly, learning from you guys, fatigue management really big, focusing on those deloads, focusing on you know, different intensity, not just pushing balls to the wall all the time. It's probably a
Yeah.
good key to that. So definitely learn from some mistakes there. Appreciate you guys for that.
And God willing, you don't get yourself hurt. But if you do, don't be a dumbass and ignore it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's like a tough thing to do. Like I get that 100%. So
Yeah.
that's a tough thing. That would probably be the thing that gets me, to be honest with you. So like what did you do during that time, like when you were away from the gym, like you said, it was probably 7 months till you were back to kind of like what it used to be. Did your interest shift? What did you do? That's just like crazy to think about.
So for about 4 months of that, I couldn't do jujitsu either.
Hmm.
So during that time, I ate and got fat as fuck.
Hmm.
I did. I think I actually put on about 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Just because I was that was a huge depression time for me. The main things that I liked to do with my time, I couldn't. And so I basically ate and played video games.
Hmm.
Um, Eventually, though, I was able to, get back into jujitsu, and that helped because it did give me something I could focus on. Um, and so during that time, I really, really, really started reading a lot more about fatigue management and periodization and a lot of the recovery stuff and things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And
It's like
also I was friends with some physical therapists. So I was like borrowing textbooks from them.
hmm yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it in the past because I think like I personally got like way too wrapped up in like the fitness goals and like it dominated my life. Like just like having things outside of like fitness, what other hobbies, other things to do. It's huge because like
So it helps with that psychological fact. If your life is all lifting, it's all bodybuilding all the time, you eventually get burned out.
yeah.
You have to have other avenues, other things you can use to relax, other things you can do for enjoyment.
But yeah, dude, I just appreciate the like insights from someone who's kind of like been there, done that. Like, I mean, you are kind of like at this point, you becoming an OG yourself. So, I
I'm
appreciate hearing your perspective. Um, Dude, one thing I wanted to talk about on another whole topic is like your training currently. So, of course, for those who don't know, definitely follow Trevor on Instagram because he's always posting up the training and it's like textbook form too. So, like, if you ever need form references or like ideas for exercise selection to try, I guess you can definitely check out Trevor's Instagram. But how's training been? What are some of the goals that you got at hand? And I'm definitely just interested to hear the nuances that are running through your brain.
Well, man, training's actually been pretty interesting recently. So I took nearly a month off of training. Almost the
Mhm.
entire month of March was taken off of training. It was just like I had a lot of work between just like actual work and then the house situation and the move and everything like that. And I needed to take stressors off of my plate. So I didn't train for almost a month. So I'm currently at the fourth week. This is the last week of my first mesocycle back to training. And the whole point of this mesocycle has been just like reintroducing hard training. Definitely, it's been one of those. It's been because of having so long off, everything felt foreign starting off. Like if you haven't done an exercise for 6 months, you're like, oh, first time you do it, it's like this feels really weird. Everything felt like that. Um, so it's been like very, very slowly, incrementally adding on throughout this mesocycle. And my goal currently is actually to do a mass phase, but diet wise, I've actually kept this meso at maintenance, kind of using it as a recomp meso, so to speak. Um, after so long off of training, just need to kind of get back in the groove of things. Um, but after I finish this, I'm kind of going to go full bore into a mass phase.
Bulk during
Um,
summer, baby. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. The real alpha move,
Ah, yes,
abs.
yes.
Cool. Um, so that's kind of my goal training wise. And I'm actually, if you saw my post today, you would have seen I'm experimenting a bit with some lengthened partials. Mr. Milo Wolf be very happy.
hmm
So I've been just a couple again because this mesocycle I really wanted to take it easy because like I got sore as fuck. So I really want to take things easy, but I've been doing like some lengthened flies for pecs and which oh my god, if you want to experience pain.
Wait,
Oh
okay. Can you break that down for me real quick because I'm like not picturing it. So LinkedIn is it a LinkedIn partial fly?
yeah, so
Yep.
lengthened partial.
Yep.
So only to here.
Okay. Oof. Oof.
And oh my god, like I'm actually like super sore just doing that. I trained chest yesterday. It hurts. My boobies hurt.
Love
Um,
it. I,
but
I I
then
also I saw you were
yeah,
doing the 1.5 squats,
yeah,
like
yeah.
1.5 or whatever.
Kind of wanted to experiment a little bit of that. So the 1.5 squats seemed like a nice introduction to lengthened partial squats. It was actually really funny. So I did it as a down set after I finished my top Smith squat sets. And initially I dropped to 205. And I was looking at it and kind of talking to my training partner. He was like, are you sure you want to drop it a little lower? And I was like, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I have no idea what this is going to do. Maybe I'll drop it lower, and if I end up with more reps, it's fine. I got 6 reps, and I mean, it was like I almost didn't get up that 6th rep. Shit's hard. So that's actually one of my big focuses though over this block is to start experimenting more with length and partials. Obviously, there's a lot of research on that now, and it definitely kind of verifies what we've kind of theorized for a while. Is that stretch under load is a very, 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 very powerful driver of hypertrophy. So much so that like maybe that's one of the more important parts we should think about. So before I really think about and try to start implementing with a bunch of clients, it's something I want to test myself. I want to test what exercises it seems to be kind of most effective on, where the application is for it, and test some of the volume tolerances of it. So that's kind of one of my big goals for training. Again, I don't really care about my own physique objective. Obviously, yes, I want to be bigger and more muscular. But to me, being able to test this and see how it works is probably more important.
Yeah. I relate to that sentiment too, just as an off remark. But I love like I'll run things for like 2 mesocycles and then like I'll throw them to select clients. Like I have one guy that's really loving the cambered bar now that I put that in his program. He's like, dude, I saw you do this. He's like, I figured you'd put it in eventually. I was like, yeah, you understand how I'm operating kind of. And he's like, he's loving that, which is, you guys have been talking about that for a minute, but yeah, definitely.
Is, so good.
Yeah. And then I remember on the first podcast we did, we talked about like John Meadows. So like the first real hypertrophy program I did, I think it was the Sentinel. It was a John Meadows program. And I think in that one, I might be wrong, but I think in that one he had the 1.5 squats. And I just remember like that was the most sore I had been since like there's 2 or 3 times I remember ever just being like, what the hell, sore. That was one of them. The other one was like the first day I ever lifted with like the football team in like middle school, and that was just like wrecked. But yeah, I'm. One thing that was like a criticism of maybe not necessarily the lengthened partials, but the partials that I saw some people bringing up. Like I remember Jared specifically was like the standardization and tracking for partials can be tough. And this was months ago, so maybe his stance has changed on this even. But I just thought to myself, like, why does that really matter? So like one thing that I was thinking about this was like lateral raises, right? So like I get that the standardization can drop off as you fatigue. And like when I'm doing partials on lateral raises, for those who are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you'll have to bear with me as I explain what I'm doing here. For those on YouTube, you get the gist. But like, let's say lateral raise, right? But then like partial lateral raise is like half the range of motion that you would raise the dumbbells for lateral raises. So my thought was like, yes, your standardized range of motion might fall off. It might be harder to track reps, but my initial thought was like, why does that really matter? Do you have any thoughts on that? I'm just curious to hear, because I thought that criticism was like, yeah, I get it, but I would still implement it personally.
I think the biggest reason I find it to be a valid criticism, and it's actually a criticism I have too, is how do you know you're getting stronger if you are simply changing the range of motion?
Mm-hmm.
So let's think like the mathematical equation of volume is reps times sets times load times distance moved.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are getting stronger in volume, maybe you're doing the same sets and reps and more load, but maybe you're dropping the distance you're moving it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's a valid criticism. Now, I think what we're seeing is that it's less valid if we're talking length and partials. Mm-hmm. Because what I think we're seeing in the research is that like yeah, if we're talking like, okay, you're gonna do a squat and you're only going halfway down, or well, you just squat's too easy of an example. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do a dumbbell bench
Yeah.
and you're gonna do this, and you can take the 70s all the way down here and get a deep stretch, or you can take the 120s and do this.
Mhm.
Well, are you actually stronger? No, you're not. You're just changing the equation.
Mhm.
You know, if you can take the 70s down here, this is the strength you have. You're just limiting how much strength you need by changing how much distance you need to move. Here, yeah, you have the strength to move 120s here. But if you're
Mhm.
moving 120s here and then you drop to here,
Mhm.
oh shit, what's going to happen now? Best case, you don't get the rep up. Worst case, you tear a pec.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's a valid criticism for sure. And like I said, it's one I have. But I do think that with lengthened partials, the little bit I've experimented with, it's not super hard to get a rough standardization.
Yeah.
And the thing, like I was talking to my training partner about this today. I was like, man, you have to be on point with your technique when I was doing these squats, because you go down, you come up halfway, you go back down again, and you come back up. Immediately, I found myself wanting to go down, come up, go down, and bounce to get it up,
Yeah.
because it's very painful. And that, like, coming up halfway, stopping, and going back down again, doing that control and slow and sitting again, and then coming all the way back up, very, very difficult. So I think that if you're going to do this, it requires you to be very, very technical.
Mhm.
But I think if you are, it's not that difficult to have a rough standardization of where you're going to do it. So if you're going to do a fly again, instead of going here, you can roughly get to here.
Mhm.
And yeah, some reps you may be a little low, some reps you may come an inch higher. I'm not sure that matters,
Yeah.
especially again in this conversation of length and partials.
Yeah.
We're talking about, you're doing this with biceps. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you're doing much of anything.
Right. Yeah. I think honestly, the reason why I was like so like dumbfounded by that criticism was like I assumed like everyone would just do LinkedIn partials. Like it's never been something that's really crossed my mind. I mean, I shouldn't say never. Very rarely crosses my mind like that bench press example is perfect. Like I would just never do a partial in the top half of the motion because that would hurt, bro. Like that shit would beat me up.
Oh
Um,
no, and that's what's funny is that shit beats the shit out of your joints.
yeah.
You go into a gym, my favorite thing ever is when people are like, yeah, bro, I don't do barbell, I just do dumbbells because it's got a better range of motion, bro. And with a barbell, they tie
Yeah.
the barbell to their chest. But with dumbbells, they do this shit.
Yeah. With the 120s.
I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
It's nothing about range of motion. It's literally just so you can have a big ego because you're lifting the 120-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
If it was
Yeah.
about range of motion and so you get a better range of motion, you would actually drop that shit.
Right. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's a very real thing for those listening who are like maybe conflicted or on the fence still. Like, very very top level Olympian bodybuilder, Charles Griffin. He actually just had a minor pec tear trying to dumbbell press some crazy heavy. They were like more than 150s on an incline for like a triple, and it's just like, dude, why would you do that when you have so much money on the line? And like
That's a
this,
whole yeah. First of all, if you're dumbbell bench pressing for sets of 5 or less, just stop.
right?
Just
Yeah.
please stop. But yeah, I mean, you see that shit all the time, and it's like, you remember when the like pec tear video, the Larry Wills pec tear
Oh,
video
bro.
came out, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, I'm never gonna incline bench again."
The pressing is where it gets honestly really stupid and really dangerous. So
Yeah, yeah, and so it's like, we us in this evidence based fitness space, we may not think like when someone's like, oh, doing partials and doing length and partials. We may not think, and we're like, oh, yeah, I mean, okay, but as a whole, most people aren't actually ever like even doing the fully lengthened range period.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, when we talk about standardization and stuff, it's like, especially when you're talking about the average gym goer, standardization is super important
Mm-hmm.
because these people are just bouncing weights around anyway.
Dude, there's this one old guy at the gym, and he I have like the Strive chest supported row and a Strive pull down that's right next to it. So like they're like real close together. And I'm always doing like the Strive chest supported row. And like I have the seat on, or not the seat, the chest support on 7. So I'm getting like a really big stretch, kind of like retracting back. And I'm maybe it maybe goes up to like 20, and I'm using like 11 or 12. And then this old dude next to me, he's like legitimately like rocking the fucking machine because he's got that shit on 20. And I think he puts the position on 9, which is like literally the worst. I mean,
Yeah,
whatever. But and he's like, boom, boom. And I'm like, oh fuck, like this thing about to topple over on me. I'm gonna die. He's gonna die. And I was just like, yeah, standardization is a tough thing at the gyms these days.
yeah,
Hopefully, I do see better form though. Like maybe I'm paying closer attention to it. I do see some better form compared to like also coming from like a college gym. You got bottom of the barrel dog shit
yeah,
form at
yeah.
those establishments.
You're
But
not wrong there.
mhm.
It's a low bar.
Yeah,
But no,
definitely.
it is even just general population. It's getting better. You got and big props to guys like Jared and John Jewett and stuff who are like really, and even the guys like Kuba Klein and stuff like that, that they're really talking about like really having this control, and that those guys are bringing it more to the IFBB guys, but those guys then disseminate it to millions.
Mhm. Yeah. Dude, I honestly think the fact, and Shimmy and I talked about this when I had him on the podcast. I was like, what do you think is gonna bring this style of training to the mainstream? And he was like, if Jared coached C-Bum. But I mean, Jared's working and working out with Nick fucking Walker, man. So like that's a dub. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, dude, also just a complete aside, because I know like we Trevor and I spent some time together at the Arnold. We were talking some bodybuilding and seeing the things
Yeah.
that went on. Dude, Jared is competing at the Charlotte. At least I saw his name on the competitors list. And
Yeah, he is.
also, yeah, like the dude looks stupid.
Did you see his picture last night?
Yeah. Like it's just stupid. His delts, his how small his waist is.
He doesn't.
So he doesn't what?
He doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah. So one of my like best friend and client, he did posing coaching with this guy named Justin. I might butcher his last name, Abdurina or something. Might have butchered that. And also when I lived in New Jersey, Justin was a manager at this like really cool supplement store. And dude, Justin is also going to be in this show. I'm like, this is about to be crazy. Like, I really think Jared will do well in this show. And Justin, like, I think Jared's conditioning and like the density and like graininess of his muscle is like better, but Justin is classic as fuck. Like the dude is just straight off of Arnold. And I'm like, man, this is gonna be such a cool show. I'm so
That's
excited.
going to be a good show. I
Yeah.
was I was actually originally hoping I'd go to it, but house stuff, whatnot. Maybe next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that'll probably be cool for RP too, because I think like Nick probably would live somewhere close if he still is in Charlotte at least. I know at one point
Yeah.
he was down there. So that'd be cool. Good luck, Jared. We love you, bro.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, dude. But I mean, yeah, kind of on that same vein, like do you ever have people, I know you've talked about in the past like guys like trolling you for the way you train, but do you ever have people at the gym come up and be like, "Oh, like why do you guys train like that?" and like are genuinely interested in kind of like learning from you in like a in-person setting, maybe not even training, but just happenstance?
Actually, we yeah, I do. I've had a decent handful of guys that are like, man, why are you going so low on the leg press?
For
Um,
context, you guys literally built a fucking like an add-on to the sled
yeah,
to get
yeah.
deeper. So for
We
the listeners, there's
we are a little
levels to this shit.
extra. We're a little
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean there has been some guys you know so I hope to one day one of the reasons I want to be bigger is so I can be that guy that's like, oh, that big dude does that, let's ask him why he does that. Because there are some other, I mean, I train like the place I train in Oklahoma is it's the NPC gym of Oklahoma.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so a lot of pretty high level bodybuilders there. So there's a lot of big dudes. So there's a lot of guys that see big dudes that are just doing dumb shit. And I
Hmm.
go, oh, I'm gonna do what big guy does. And it's like I really hope to be at some point like big enough that somebody wants to ask me, like, oh, what, you're a big guy, what are you doing that for? But you know, I have had a few people, which is always good. I do have one little story to tell on this little thing though. Had a dude who asked how many sets we had left in the leg press, and we were warming up, and so I had 4 sets to do. But I was, I'm like, dude, you can work in. I don't even mind changing the weights for you. And he was like, I mean, yeah, okay, okay. And so I had 405 on there, and I was like, you want me to take some of this off? Let you warm up a little bit. He's like, no, no, it's fine. I normally do like 8 plates aside, but I'll just hop in right here and see how it goes. And so we had, the seat leaned back, the pad, and then the foot platform on there. And he goes to do it, immediately starts to bend his legs, and it's probably deeper than he's ever gone just because of the position we set him. Thing just slams.
Oh, man.
And so me and my trading partner like freak out, and we're like trying to, get the weight off and help him up and stuff. And he just immediately, he's like, I'm just not gonna worry about it. I'll do it later, and like walks away. But it's like I also watch this dude. I'm like, I have like significantly bigger legs than you. Maybe you should ask, what are you doing? Because this guy is also, I've seen him put 5 plates on a barbell and like literally unlock his knees. And that's it.
Whoa.
So, not quite there yet. Got a little more work before I got people like him asking me, why are you doing that? That's my goals. That's what I want to get to. So people like him ask me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we still got a ways to go, man. Like, funny story on my end. Like it was one of the first weeks I joined the gym that I currently go to, because I joined this gym because they have the Nebula hack squat and Nebula leg press. And
I would join for that too.
yeah, yeah. The old gym I trained at was dope, but this one I just had to be there. And it was fourth set, and so I did a down set because I was dying. So I went from 3 plates and 25 down to 3 plates, and I hit it for like myo rep match. Like I matched the reps and had to do some myo reps, and I was dead at the end. Like I was grunting, screaming a little bit. And I get it, it's weird, new guy, whatever. But these two dudes are like, one of them is a trainer at the gym, and the other is just a dude that like I see there every day. And they're like just fucking talking shit. I'm like, hey guys, like I can like literally hear you. Like you're not far away. I hear you laughing and saying shit. And they're like, oh no, bro, like no, 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 it's all good. I was like, okay. I was like, what's the issue? Like, why are you laughing? And they're like, well, like you had 3 plates on there. I was like, Jesus
I'm like,
Christ.
here, it's gonna be three
Yeah.
plates.
I was like,
Yeah.
let's do a leg day sometime.
Right.
Never took me up on that
I
one.
literally have a guy that like asked to do legs with me one day, and he got through 1 set of leg press and quit.
Oh man. Oh man.
um,
Yeah. No, like for those who might not have seen Trevor's training though, I remember seeing, because remember at the Arnold, I was like, yo, check out this gym. They have the Nebula leg press. And then I saw your full set. You posted the
yep.
full set. I'm like, Jesus Christ, buddy. Like that was brutal. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just wild.
That's the shit.
Um, I love it. I love it. Definitely go check Trevor's Instagram out. It'll be linked, but you'll see what some good training looks like. Anything else that's kind of like new, fun, exciting with your own training before we move on to some questions?
Oh no, not particularly. Really, I mean the biggest thing like that, playing with the length and partials a little bit, but nothing new and exciting. I mean, it's training.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wish
No,
I
I
could
feel
do.
you.
It's like I love when I get to the last week because going like all out like this is my favorite thing. But I'm 2 days in and I'm already like, oh shit, I'm really tired.
Yeah, yep. Do you ever feel like last week we hit legs and I felt like I needed a nap immediately after.
I take a nap after every single leg day.
Okay, I might be stupid. Maybe it's just like glycogen stores rapidly depleting. But like, is there a mechanism that you know that's behind that? Because the nap thing is new for me. Like, I'm legitimately tired as fuck.
It's just super high level of systemic fatigue.
Okay, got you, got you. Um, I told my training partner slash girly girlfriend. That's the
There we
newest thing.
go.
That's why I said it like that. It's still new.
Yeah.
Alyssa, I told her to follow you, and
Yeah.
then she was like, "Oh, he liked one of my pictures." I was like, "Which one did he like?" And she was like, "The deficit split squats." I was like, "Oh, that's because Trevor been on that deficit Smith machine split squat
Yep.
grind."
Yep.
I was like, "We're gonna have to work that one in soon because we've just been doing dumbbells." But
So painful.
oh yeah, those suck. Those are brutal. Um, so I'm putting everybody on to Team Full ROM and the STD and the whole nine.
There we go.
Um, but yeah, I wanted ask you a couple questions. I'm gonna be selfish here, and I got the man on the podcast, so I'm gonna ask some of my own questions. Um, the first one that kind of came to mind is there ever, and you've probably been asked this before, but is there ever a point of diminishing returns when it comes to tempo? Because damn it, Shimmy, I've been watching him so much that I find myself like literally just the slowest eccentrics possible. Like I am like almost as slow as Shimmy at this point. And I know you guys have like a slightly different outlook on that. So is there a point of diminishing returns there?
There 100% is. And so Shimmy, I'm going to call you out here. I'm always telling Shimmy he's going too slow, especially on his back movements, because he'll be like, yeah, your rows look pretty good, but man, those eccentrics look kind of fast. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't take a year per eccentric rep. Like Jesus Christ, Shimmy. Um, so there is a point of diminishing returns. If we want to be super technical, um, the research shows that anything within about 8 seconds is largely the same, like a full rep, concentric and eccentric. Um, very few people are going to be doing a rep that's going to take them that long. Now there can be a point where, especially smaller or like larger range of motion exercises, like a squat. If you're doing a 6-second eccentric on a squat, your load likely has to be decreased so much at that point that you're just limiting the amount of mechanical tension. And so realistically, each exercise, and it really depends on the range of motion, is going to have a varying level of eccentric control that's probably best.
Mm-hmm.
Largely, you can rely on just the SFR for the exercise. You'll find that, like, oh man, if I go this slow, it feels terrible. Like, I don't do my back exercises super slow on the eccentric. I control them. But if I go too slow, I just end up my biceps tire out. So not a good SFR. But you'll find that, like, if you can do, whatever, say you're doing 315 with a 3-second eccentric on a squat, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do a 6-second eccentric or an 8-second eccentric, and you're doing 315 for sets of 10, and now you're doing 205 for sets of 10.
Yeah.
Man, you really got to ask yourself, are you getting a lot out of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the axial fatigue from like
Definitely.
squats.
Yeah. Ugh. I actually can't squat anymore. I really like. I can, but I have to be very careful. It started to give me exertion headaches every single time.
Oof. Dude, that's a cool like level to reach within the lifting game.
And it's only free squats. Hack squats, Smith squats are fine, but free squats just exertion headaches, and it will literally ruin a whole workout.
Damn, dude. Got you.
But yeah, anyway, on the eccentric thing, you can take it too far.
Mm-hmm.
There can be that point of diminishing returns. And it's really, if it's so slow that your load reduction is massive, you're talking 50-60% load reduction for the same form, the same range of motion, you probably don't need to go that slow, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I've definitely found, like, talking to actually Max Strasny, sorry Max, I don't he came through Indianapolis one weekend, and we got some training sessions in, and he was like, "Damn, you got them shimmy eccentrics." I was like, "Yeah, you're right, a little bit." And yeah, it took that leg day took me out. Like, I did 2 sets of leg press, and I was like, "All right." No, I think I did 6 sets total for that day, which is typically like a little low for me. Like, hamstrings was 3, leg press was 2, and then I did 1 set of leg extensions. I said, "Guys, I'm about to pass the fuck out. Like, I'm gonna go sit
Yeah.
down." So yeah, he's like, "You got those shimmy eccentrics." But
Yeah.
no, like, I think yeah, like you said, there's you have to have some context for the movement being used. Like, shimmy does the slowest eccentrics on legs for like the hack squat. He posted a video recently with that, and I was like, damn, that's slow as fuck. But like that is a little bit more reasonable than like other things. So I see the difference there. Do you have, just out of my own curiosity, do you have any like beliefs or differences in ideology compared to like what stuff that like RP will typically tout? Anything come to mind?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know if it's so mostly it comes down to, particularly, I think it's a thing that comes down to context of it. I think that in an enhanced lifter, um, specifically lower fat dieting is always superior. I
Yeah,
think in a
I've
natural
noticed
lifter
that.
it's less, but in an enhanced lifter, I think lower fat dieting is always superior. In any phase, massing or not. Um, and uh not necessarily RP. I don't know. They don't talk about it a lot, but in the evidence-based community, people are like, fasted cardio, complete bullshit, doesn't do anything, doesn't matter. It depends on the context. If you're using performance enhancing drugs, if you're using certain compounds and certain even supplements that are legal, even in natural federations, yohimbine, yeah, it does matter. Is it effect huge? Probably not, but it is an effect, and you will get better if you do fasted cardio when you're using these things. So I think it's like this evidence-based space where sometimes we just paint with these black and white broad strokes, where it's like there's actually context here and nuance that actually matters, but we just don't want to talk about those.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
find myself, there's a lot of those things that I kind of disagree with.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Interesting. Yeah, I would run into that like in classes in school, and I'd be like talking to the professors, and it's always interesting because they're very staunch about those stances and
Yeah.
the research that's done, which I understand because they're oftentimes the one that actually doing it. So of course you're gonna be passionate. Another quick question I had for you that is on the enhanced side is, why do some coaches and enhanced bodybuilders still utilize a super high protein approach, like above 300 grams when you're, let's say, 200 to 225, 230?
Because they don't know anything.
Yeah, like,
They
what is the deal?
they don't have any like nutritional knowledge. They don't understand what is like. They just don't get it. Like, I mean, these are people that they don't actually have any knowledge. They're just basically going by what worked for them or what worked for XYZ client.
Hmm.
Um, and does it work? Yeah, it works. And there might be benefits, such as if you're dieting, you might maintain better adherence and satiety by having a higher protein approach. But I don't think that that's generally why they do it. I think they just
Yeah,
do it because like protein builds muscle, eat more protein.
right. Because you're already like super physiologically enhanced to have better anabolism, I mean, maybe I might be speaking out of my ass here. Maybe is it increased muscle protein synthesis is the mechanism of the drug, or
You
do
have
you know?
increased protein synthesis, but you also have increased nutrient efficiency. So they
Hmm.
likely cancel each other out, and your protein needs.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Huh. Didn't know that. Cool. Okay. Yeah. That's just something that's always been on my mind. I'm like, what the fuck? But that makes sense. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, dude. Honestly, one other question that I think I think I might have messaged you about this, but I feel like I've also had a couple people ask me at the gym that I go to. So like, could you explain once again to me and the people? So we have those Strive machines, right? A lot of these gyms are having Strive and Prime equipment. And so like for Prime, you have 1 through 3. Usually I think I might be wrong, but I think 1 or 2 loads the beginning of the range of motion more. So like theoretically, you might think like, oh, like it's best to place all of the load on what's going to challenge the muscle in the lengthened position hardest, right? So like for the Strive equipment, that'd be 1. I can't exactly remember what it is for Prime. But is that what you would do? Or would you go like maybe 2 or 3 to have like a slightly biased lengthened and then like somewhat challenged throughout the rest? Or how would you approach that and why?
It's super context dependent, and
Yeah.
this could be a long answer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll break it down as best I can. So ultimately, I don't think we should be so dogmatic that we always use a certain set one, except for maybe on back, because it's one of the few times we can actually get a heavier load in the stretch, because everything else with back is like more shortened overload. So we need to look at the context of all the exercise selection of your program. So we know regional hypertrophy is a thing. There's no reason to believe that you might not get different regional hypertrophy by using more shortened overload exercises versus lengthened overload exercises.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to just look at it as variation and look at your whole workout as a whole mesocycle, everything you in there. Look at the context of it, see where these exercises fit based on the context of your other exercise selection, and know that you can use that same machine with a different strength curve for variation later in a different mesocycle if need be.
I like that answer,
Have such a
dude.
dogmatic, this is the only way to use it, and if you use it any other way, you're wrong approach. Because
Yeah.
you're probably not correct if you have that dogmatic view.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. Dude, I like that answer. And that's something that's another light bulb moment. So I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to explore it because that just opens so many combinations and permutations for my own training. So
Right.
hell yeah, that's exciting. Dude, we'll wrap it up here, let you get on with your evening. I know you probably have another early morning ahead, but thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on once again. Glad to have you back on the podcast, dude. Is there anything you want to plug in this last minute or so? Anywhere that people can find you, that type of stuff?
You can find me on Instagram. It's just at Trevor X Gage. Hop in the Team Full ROM forums. I'm in there all the time answering questions, form techniques. And if you haven't signed up for the RP Hypertrophy app beta, you should, because the thing is awesome.
Oh yeah.
It'll be
Oh
good.
yeah. Looking forward to it, man. I appreciate you once again, dude. It's always good to catch up and talk. Appreciate you all for listening. And yes, we will see you in the nicest episode of the Trainer Scoop to come.
Yeah.
But until then, see you, man.
Later.
See you, Trevor.